Good afternoon. It is so comfortable out. I don't know what the temperature is. I guess it must be 60-ish or so. And there's no breeze, and the sun is thinking about going down over the hillside. So that's where I am. There are a couple of stories that make you scratch your head. Let's start with the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is supremely above the law, as reflected by the fact that neither the Chief Judge nor any member of the court is going to appear before the Senate Judiciary Committee to talk about the ethics of the court. Now, isn't that just ducky? The Supreme Court is going to ignore the request by the chair of the Judiciary Committee, Senator Durbin, to come up there. Now, my hero, that is a later day hero, Associate Justice Breyer. If you didn't even listen to what he said, you'd have to be transfixed, I think, by the smooth way he spoke. It seemed friendly. It's kind of a satiny voice in perfect sentences. But then you add to that the content. Whole ideas came out clearly from this man. That's why he was on the Supreme Court. And he taught and loved to teach. And so I think it carried over into his demeanor as a questioning member of the Supreme Court. And one of the reasons that he was fascinating was because he also wrote books about the function of the court and why it was that people would respect the law that they pass, trust them in their lawmaking facility. Now, he's a man who would not seek to disparage the trust of the court. But if I can extrapolate from his other readings, he would say that trust was critical. And I think when you have Alito writing an opinion overturning precedent of 50 years, when you have Thomas taking favors and lying about them, in the sense that sins of omission, withholding the information about the trips he was on and the funds that his wife got and the property that was bought and paid for in his name. When you consider these things, then you say to yourself, and now within the last, 24 or 48 hours, we find that Gorsuch has some real estate deals as well. And when you think of how Kavanaugh was such a lowlife to get on the court with his sexual problems similar to Thomas. And if you analyze the court, this is a court with a lot of problems. And it's gone over into its decisions, and it contradicts the better examples of former members of the court. And they're just saying, we don't talk to you. Now, you would think an institution that is not directly responsible, as is true in some state courts, to the franchise, meaning they're not voted. It's all an inside deal. In many of the offices at the beginning of our nation, the only ones that were elected were, by the people that is, were the members of the House of Congress. That is the people's house. Not the Senate, not the court, all of it. So that, and electors chose the president. So have we come further? We haven't, obviously. So what would I do? If Durbin would let me design the hearing he should have. Now, the person who funded our boy Thomas, his name is Crow. Crow should come to the Senate. He should be subpoenaed. He should be brought up there. He should tell us what he did. You know who else is not a member of the Supreme Court and doesn't have that protection? Ginny Thomas. Bring her up, ask her what she did for $687,000 a year. That would be pretty interesting, I think. Now, would you stop there? I shrug my shoulders because that guy does not approve of my politics. But you would think walking on a road, you wouldn't feel it necessary to gun the engine to throw dust in my face. But this is what you have to do in America, despite the fact of freedom of the press. He doesn't know what I'm saying. If I knew his name, I would tell you. So what else would we do at the hearing if we were running it for Durbin? Well, I think we actually subpoena the land records that are involved in Thomas's situation. I think we bring the people who supplied the entertainment and the hotels and stuff like that for Thomas and Ginny. I think we do all that. And I think we also ask Ginny about the conflict with her husband for her role in what happened on January the 6th. Now, you people out there, if any of you wonder why I'm not in Congress, you just heard me why. Because I think we should cut through all this bullshit and actually do something when people hold themselves above the law, whether it be the Supreme Court, the wife, the friend, the supplier, or our laws mean nothing, zero. And that's evident. Now, having said that, I am encouraged by a lawsuit. And if you think about it, there appear to be courthouses in America that are unfriendly to the lawless, to the offenders of our nation, in terms of its basic founding principles, of its Constitution, of its laws. So, who could I imagine? Okay, let's say Florida. DeSantis. Now, you know, DeSantis got upset when Disney said his education policies were wrong. And so then he tried to attack the special tax district that the Disney family in Florida occupied. And in that district, Disney not only brought business, I think 13 million visitors a year, but there's a whole community that lives around there. And I believe they surfaced the roads and everything. And so when DeSantis said he'd eliminate the special district, he found that he had a $1 billion bomb payment that had to be made to keep those roads and everything going. And so he was defeated. And so what they did was they tried to change the rules. Well, I believe it's today, this afternoon, in northern Florida, Disney went to court against DeSantis and basically attacked him for his First Amendment reprisals against Disney for merely expressing their view about his education policy. Now that sounds like a good case to me. Oh, what a shame. DeSantis would be an idiot and have done what he did out of pique and abused his office. And now we'll have a hearing about it. Isn't that splendid? So that's a case where the court's doing good things. And there's another good case going on in court today, and it's E. Jean Carroll. You may remember that basically her accusation is Trump raped her at Bergdorf Goodman. Now she expected, if she ever talked about it, that Trump would just say it was consensual. Instead, Trump said, I don't know who she is. I never met her. I don't know anything about her. And there apparently is a picture of him, and she's in the same picture. So I think she's walking away. I'm not sure. Anyhow, we'll hear about it. And it's very funny that the defense attorney, he got upset with her because she at one point had the most terrible men in New York or something like that. And she had 19 of them. And the last one was a guy made up to look like Trump. And what happened was somebody took a picture and she's smiling in the picture. And the cross-examination was, so you don't take this so seriously because you were smiling in the picture while you were making this money and attacking Trump? And she said, well, I was smiling, I was laughing, in fact, because I went to take a picture of the guy who was playing Trump, and he wanted me to pay him $5 for that picture. And I had arranged this tour, which was a PR tour attacking these kind of men, including Trump. And she said, and I didn't charge anything for the tour. So there's no money involved, and my smile had to do with the person posing as Trump asking for $5. How perfect is that? I'm hoping that she prevails, as are others, but based on what I believe are the facts and the truth of the matter. And there are going to be one or two others who are going to talk about similar acts. And in the he said, she said kind of conflicts, I'm not sure how Trump intends to do his defense if he doesn't intend to come to court and testify. And the judge has asked about that, not only for security, but also for planning in the course of the trial. But here's an interesting thing. When the other side, Trump in this case, says, you just made that up, and you're only saying it years later. And her answer is two parts. Well, I didn't say anything about it then because it was humiliating and embarrassing, and I just couldn't handle it, and I didn't want to handle it. But the second part, at about that time when it happened, within days, she told two other people about it. So this shows that it wasn't a latter-day creation, that it did happen, and she didn't go official, but she did actually tell two people she trusted about it. She had to tell someone, probably. She probably felt so terrible. She's also said she's had no sexual relationships ever since. She just couldn't stand it. She looks at a man and she can't allow herself to like him because it feels like a trap. She says that she's haunted to this day by the event, and I believe it. We live in a nation where we have no tears that Fox News loses a person who just must hate women, just abusive in language and conduct. And Trump is of that ilk, and there are many more. And this will be a victory for women if no juror is threatened or coerced, and if the trial goes forward, something like a regular trial would. But I think she's off to a good start, and I'm glad for her, because this nation has enough of these, I would say pigs, except for the fact that I love the pigs we have, and I don't want to be unfair in slandering them. It's almost unfair to try to make a metaphor comparison to these people, how terrible they are. That's why words like evil, ruthless, terrible fit. And Trump is going to have to deal with the fact that he's going down. If everybody persists, he's going down. And that's a good thing, because this country is more delicate than our leaders ever want to admit. Because, like the Supreme Court, they're based on the trust of the people, but also the coercion of bad people to do what's right by law that holds them accountable when they violate it. And this last proposition is a particularly important one, given where we are now and how little attention we pay to the violations that compromise our republic every day. So here I am on my tree-lined road with the dust settled by now, and I'll speak to you tomorrow again from my Cathedral of Trees. All the best. Bye-bye.